Attention, bad recordings and lazy producers. The Zoo Audio DWX speaker has got your number. They're hunting you down. You can run, but you can't hide. Hi, I'm Bob, and you, my friends, are back in the United States of Analog. Welcome back to our great nation of hi-fi experimentation. If you're not a citizen yet, it's easy to apply. All you have to do is hit that subscribe button, and you're in. Boom, like that. Accepted.
Accepted.
Today we're going to check out Zoo Audio's DWX bookshelf speakers. I think they're bookshelf speakers. These things are ginormous. Thanks to Sean from Zoo Audio in beautiful Utah, USA for loaning me these for evaluation. I heard them at the Southwest Audio Show a few months ago, powered by Black Ice Audio Electronics, and they sounded phenomenal in a big, wide open space. But I wanted to check them out in my home, in my listening space, to see what they would do. You know, speakers are like ice cream. They come in all kinds of different flavors. And really, there's no perfect speaker, though there is a perfect ice cream. That would be Amy's Mexican Vanilla, but you'll have to come to Austin, Texas to confirm that. Zoo has delivered a speaker flavor I've yet to hear in my home. It's bold, it's dynamic, it has the qualities of live music presentation, all wrapped up into a giant box. But before I get to all of that, the sound, the price, and all of that stuff, I think we should start by taking a good look at them. These Zoo DWX in standard black satin are technically the bookshelf version of the larger DW6, Dirty Weekend 6. Critically acclaimed, but take a look at these monsters alongside my Klipsch Fortes. They're going to need some serious, stout speaker stands. Luckily, I had the Italian solid steel models on hand. Because they have a centered full-range driver, you can play these upright, on their head, on their side. It doesn't matter. You're going to get cohesive sound no matter which way you position them. I guess because of the size, you can also set them on the floor, but I think you're going to need some stands too. You're going to have to get some air underneath these things, and some experimentation is going to be required. Yes, it has a studio monitor vibe in this basic black, but it comes in 10 different finishes, or you can request a totally custom finish. There's something for every taste, and you might need one of these custom finishes for spousal approval. Zoo is direct to consumer on their website, and there are all kinds of finishes and packages to choose from. For some, it could be daunting. Others will feel like they're in a hi-fi candy store. The DWX is one industrial-looking
beast.
You ain't gonna be able to hide this one. But some of these silver finish touches can also be requested in black. Now back to the FRD, the full range driver. It's responsible for about 90% of the sound. The DWX has a whizzer cone, paper membrane, stiff rippled cloth suspension, and neutral hung 2-inch voice coil. It operates without a crossover and covers virtually the entire audible range. Also, it has what I might be incorrectly calling a super tweeter that kicks in about 12,000 hertz. It's an Eminence titanium dome in a shallow waveguide. The full range driver dives down to a reported 38 hertz. It's a bass reflex design, and it has a huge front port. It's way too much technical info and jargon to wade into here. You know me, but I invite you to check out all of their specs and technical data on their website. Now, my audition pair come in at $1,398 for the basic black satin edition with no upgrades. The Supreme package is an additional $699. It adds Tecton connections, upgraded components like capacitors, and the drivers are selected for closer tolerances to give you a more cohesive sound across the board. With the upgrade packages, you also get more factory burn-in time, saving you time. All right, I've laid it out. Now it's time to play it out. And OMG, what am I doing? Just throw the script away. Let's talk about the DWX and how they sound. Oh my, what was I thinking? I ran these babies off a Black Ice Audio F22 KT88 tube amplifier, lots of current, lots of dynamics, lots of fun. I also have on loan, and I'll be reviewing very soon, the Cambridge Evo 150 with streamer built in, and I got the matching CD transport, which I'm anxious to show you. Sources, a Gen 3 node, the streamer inside the Evo, and that CD transport. These are for audiophiles that proudly like to display their gear up front. These aren't desktop speakers. You're not going to be able to hide these puppies. And you might need those extra finishes available to get those speakers through the front door. They're going to require some spousal approval. Trust me. This may cost you a trip to the jewelry store, maybe the BMW dealership. At the end of the day, you're going to feel like you got caught cheating. But they are large, they are stately, they exude power, authority. Please take a moment to like and subscribe. You'll really help my channel. They are by no means fugly, okay? They just are a slightly different reference point than maybe what you're used to in a bookshelf speaker. And I don't hate it because I'm all about the sound. Sound first, function before form. And the base model is less than a tiny pair of KEF LS50 Metas, and I guarantee you those are not going to punch you in the solar plexus like the DWX. Now I'll take the opportunity to run down the pros and cons for you. Price is reasonable, made in the US. Incredibly wide and at times almost wraparound soundstage. Generous depth and height. Gorgeous, and I mean gorgeous male and female vocals. So organic sounding, so clear. Concert-like dynamics and volume are possible. Adequate lows, but I always recommend adding a sub just for that extra The front firing port makes them kind of easy to place, though you're gonna wanna do some experimentation. And the extreme detail you get with the DWX is going to dazzle, but sometimes it's gonna call out the flaws in the recording, the mastering, the engineering, the pressing of some of your favorite recordings. Now the cons, I've talked a lot about the form factor. Okay, yeah, it's big. To that point, you're gonna require strong stands. There's a lot of choices and upgrades and finishes, and you can spend days on the Zoo website, and that may paralyze the uninitiated and the newbies to the audiophile game. And making both the pro and the cons list that extreme detail I speak about. The Zoo DWX is a whistleblower. It will absolutely expose and shame poor recordings for what they are. So if you have a collection of, well, let's just call it what it is, crappy recordings, and you don't care, poor files, broken CDs, I don't know, you're gonna be in a little bit of trouble with the Zoos, all right? But if you're like me and you try to carefully curate your collection of albums, CDs, digital files, you are gonna be in hi-fi heaven in most cases with most music. Here's an example. One of the first tracks I played was Paul McCartney and Wings, Junior's Farm. Now, I've heard that song on radio, compressed on the FM dial for many, many years, for decades. I've always thought it was a great rocker. I love Paul McCartney and Wings. I used Tidal, and I thought it was a high-res file, so I was pretty confident it was going to sound good. It did not sound good, and frankly, I started to get out the shipping box, but I decided to plug in some headphones and check that track out. And to my surprise, it was not the well-recorded, well-engineered song I thought it was. The DWX just exposed what wasn't there in the first place. Now, here's my hot take about all of this. I believe that speakers don't have to apologize for poorly recorded, poorly engineered, poorly pressed music. There are plenty of sub $1,000, hell, sub $500 speakers that can do an adequate job of covering up faults in the music. With that cover-up comes the loss of detail, nuances, air, space, subtleties that you're going to be missing out on as a substandard speaker tries to neutralize that music. That's fine for Sunday afternoon background listening, but most audiophiles want it all. So let's take the opportunity right here to join together as audiophiles and put the responsibility of the quality of the recording back into the hands of the artist and the engineers and the mastering engineers and the producer and the pressing plants and all of that. It's not the speaker's job to cover that up. You know, in some ways, the DWX gave me that 80s JBL L-Series kind of vibe. A vibe that I've been chasing since I was in college. I love that loud, almost live presentation that the DWX are capable of. It had me running for classics like Yes's Owner of a Lonely Heart and Roundabout, XTC's Waiting for Nigel, John Mellencamp, or he was John Cougar back then, Jack and Diane, and the only band that mattered, The Clash, London Calling. Fantastic on the zoos. Rock and roll, in your face, live sound, you're in the arena, you're feeling it. But you know what? I also brought out my trusty Blue Note Tone Poet pressings, and they were just as impressive. I heard all the air, the separation, the space, the nuance. It was wonderful. It was like the musicians were in my room. And I know that sounds cliche, but I can't help it. They were there. On some level, the DWX were unlike anything I've ever heard in my home, save for maybe the $5,000 Klipsch Forte that also have that kind of clean, punchy dynamic. The dynamics that thrill. But the zoos also had some of that detail I experienced in the $8,000 Focal Canta I reviewed recently. But the Canta's beryllium tweeter really is special and gave that high-end sparkle a little more refinement than I heard in the zoo. That tweeter just amazes. Hey, the DWX is great, but what's your favorite bookie? Put it in the comments below. But if anything I've said here resonates with you, you owe it to yourself to check out the Zoo DWX. I've told you what I heard in them, but everyone has different tastes, different rooms, different ears. Luckily, Zoo has a generous 60-day return policy, so there's really no risk. And speaking of return, I hope you return right here soon to the United States of Analog. I'll see you next time. Hey, the geniuses at YouTube have already picked a video for you to watch, and it's right here, right there at the edge of my fingertips. So click it, click it, click it good.